What is going on, my friends? My name is Mackenzie, and this is week 11 of my 12 and 12 Design to Code Challenge. So I'll be honest, normally I'm not like super happy with the designs that I create, but I only have a week to create them, so I just make them and put it out regardless of if I'm satisfied with it. But this week is a little bit different. So this week I created a design and I think it turned out really freaking awesome. I love it. So this design is based on an idea I had about 3 or 4 years ago, actually. The idea is to make communication between you and your client when you're doing freelance work super easy. So my idea was to create a web app to where a user could have projects, and then each project would have a client, and they could communicate with that and get feedback on their designs and get approval and all that. So I had that idea and I never actually did anything with it. So I thought for this very last week, this last design in this series, that I would try to make something for that idea. And I think it turned out awesome. I don't want to wait any longer. Let's jump on the computer and I will show you how I created this design. All right, guys, let's begin. So to start, I'm gonna hit the A key and create a new artboard. I'm just gonna select the desktop HD at 1440 by 1024 pixels. Let's go ahead and rename that. I'll just say client communication app. Don't really have a name for this one, but no big deal. So what I am envisioning is an application to where you can communicate with your client. Both you and them can add comments and attach files and such. The overall idea for this app is a bit bigger than just this single page, but we are going to design the communications page for an individual project. So what I'm thinking is on the left-hand side, we'll have a sidebar with some details about the project. And then on the right side, we're going to have the communication itself. All right, so what I want to do first is I'm just going to hit R, create a shape, so we can get a background color. I'm going to just go ahead and remove the border. Then for this, what I want is just a super light bluish gray color. The reason for this is I want the communication bubbles for the conversation to be in white, so that way you can differentiate between the white of the bubble versus the background itself. That looks pretty good, so I'm going to go with F7, F8, FB hex code. And I will just call this background, and I'm going to go ahead and lock that layer. All right, let's create a new shape. So I'm thinking something like this. Let's remove the border, change the color to white. So the big thing is I want this to have some depth. So I'm going to add some shadow to it. Want it to be a super subtle shadow. I'm going to go again with the bluish color for the shadow itself. So I'm just going to select something like FC3747, and then I'm going to play with the Y value and the blur as well. So let's see, something like that. Maybe the blur, I want it to be pretty high. Maybe like 35 seems too much, maybe 30. Cool, and then let's change the alpha setting, the opacity, to pretty low. Maybe something like 9 or 10. That looks good. Cool, so I want these to be rounded, the corners itself, but I want it to be rounded from a specific point to show that it's a certain person talking. For example, our communications would come from the left, the client communications would come from the right. So what I'm thinking is, let's see, hit enter, and then I'm going to select these 3 points and just bring up the border radius. Not quite sure how much I want, maybe something like 25. Let me just type in 25. That looks pretty good. So it's growing from this point right here. I like that. And actually that shadow may be even a little too dark. Maybe change it to like 7% from 10. Cool. All right, so we're gonna have 2 different types of chat bubbles. One's gonna be just the regular chat, and then the other is gonna be an attachment chat with the file itself. So the attachment I'm thinking would be a bit bigger, So I'm going to drop in, so I'm going to go ahead and drop in a file to use. I'm just going to grab last week's design. Drop that in, then I will scale it down. Cool, so what I'm thinking is something like this, but I want this to have a shadow as well to have it appear like it's sitting on top a bit. Maybe something like that, and then we can bring this up. That way it's like kind of popping off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that shadow and paste it on here. Whoops, remove the fill. So it has a shadow on it. Why is that shadow not showing up? Does it need to be darker? It does need to be darker. Okay, let's just play with that for a bit. First off, I don't want these to be perfectly square. So what if we put a rounded corner on this? Let me create a shape. Same size. Let's move it back and let's get rid of the border. And I'm just going to use this shape as a mask. So I'm going to right click on the file, choose mask. Then let's give it some border radius. Nothing big, maybe like 4. Looks pretty good. Then what I want to do is for the chat bubble as well, change this from 0 to 4 on the border radius. Then just like align it a bit more so the padding looks even on the left side and the bottom. That looks pretty dope. All right, let's get a title and then some filler text. Let's just type. I'm going to use the Avenir font. And for the title, I'm thinking we use the lighter font, nice and big. So let's see. Let's type. This is Pixel Perfect Design Resources. It's a bit too large at the moment, so let's shrink that down. Maybe to like 23 or 22, maybe 23. I want to change the color to, I want like a bluish gray color. It appears to be using the mask, so I'm going to tell it to ignore that. I feel like this chat bubble could be a little bit wider. So I'm going to go to hipsum.co and just grab some filler text to use. Let's just grab a few lines of this, close out of that. Then create some text, paste it in. So the font size doesn't need to be nearly that large, nor does the line height need to be that large. Something like that looks pretty good. And then let's make it, let's see, I'm gonna match this color for now. And then I wanna make it slightly lighter gray. That way more emphasis is on the title and there's some visual hierarchy there. Beautiful. So you know what? The shadow is gone. I think the shadow's on the image itself. So I'm going to copy that and paste it on the shape that we're using for the mask. There we go. Now we can just take it off of that. Beautiful. All right, so now what if the client wants to download it? So for that, we would need a button. Actually, they would either be able to download it or click and view it full size and maybe like a modal or something. So, all right, let's create a shape. Just thinking a simple rectangle. Let's put that 4 pixel border radius on it. Remove the border. I'm thinking for this, we should create some sort of highlight color. Let's just play around with it for a minute. Yellow is probably not the one I want. Green maybe? Actually like a bluish green, or actually we have the blue hues in the background itself, so a blue button would pop really well. So let me try something like, maybe that looks pretty good. Yeah, I'll go with that. I'm just gonna add that as a document color. So it's 50BBF2 hex code. And let's make this one a document color as well. It's a dark gray. It's a 3A4146. Beautiful. Now let's create some text, and we'll say maybe view full size. And let's center that, change the color to white, and make it match the Avenir. And let's do a heavy font on this. And then we can make it a bit smaller font size, maybe 13. And all we need to do is just center it. So the description looks a little large still, so I'm going to shrink that down maybe to 14 and 23 on the line height. That looks pretty good. Let me duplicate this button because we would also need one for if they want to download. So let's create a download button. This one shouldn't be the highlight. In fact, it shouldn't take up much emphasis at all. So I'm just going to make it like a light bluish gray, I think. So it needs to be darker than the background. That way you can see the white text on top, but it shouldn't take up very much emphasis. So I'm thinking something like, that's more blue hues in there. Something like that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit lighter. Cool. I'll add that. So I'm going to use CEDCE4. Let me extend this a bit. So I'm thinking we should differentiate the different file types when you upload. So I'm going to use an icon set, which I will link to. This was a free icon set. You can grab the link to it in the description below. But I'm going to use something like this to represent what it is. This one looks pretty good, maybe to represent that it's an image. So let me tab back in. So the fill color, let's see, maybe it should match that button. So let me do that. That looks good. Then I'll just put it in this corner. Actually, maybe make it line up with the title. Cool, I'm liking that. This looks great. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to group this stuff. First off, let's group these buttons. Call that buttons, and then group all of that. Call it the file content. Let's grab both of these and right click, make sure it ignores the underlying mask. Beautiful. File preview, and then let's group everything together, and we'll call this file upload or something. I don't know. That works for now. So let's just center that for the time being. Beautiful. All right, so what if you wanted to add a comment with that as well? So you upload the file, and then you want to add a comment. So let's copy this same description text, and we'll use that for the chat bubble. Let's make sure to get it outside of that folder. There we go. So for this, I'm thinking we have an icon or an avatar for the user and then their message. And then maybe below it have like the time it was sent. So let me drop in an image of myself. Here we go. So let's just scale that down. Beautiful. All right, so what I will do is I want to make this rounded. So let's hit O, and let's create a shape behind it. Get rid of that border, move it backwards, and I will tell this to use it as a mask. Perfect. That's far too large, so let's grab both of those layers, shrink it down. What would happen if this had the same shadow? Let's take a look at what that would look like. Ooh, I like it. But that's a bit too harsh because the other one's bigger, I think. So I don't think it needs to be quite as blurred, maybe? Let's try changing the alpha layer down a bit. Maybe down to 30, just slightly. All right, then I'm just gonna write some text, be like, hey client, I'll just call her Jane. You can see above that I have attached a PNG of the first go at this design. Can you take a look and let me know your thoughts or something like that? All right, let's zoom out. Looking at this now, let's see, let's center this first. Just scoot it up slightly. And actually, that's pretty small. Let's make it a bit larger. There you go, maybe something like that. Sweet, that looks good. So what I'm thinking is they should have the same amount of padding on either side. So since this one's shorter, we don't need as much, need the chat bubble to be as long. So let's bring that in. So these two look like they're together. Let's group this one, call it like chat bubble 1 or something like that. All right, so now let's create what the client's chat would look like. So first off, let's go in, grab that background layer, transform it, flip it horizontal. That way it comes from the opposite side. Then let's grab that profile image and bring it to the other side. And then let's change the text align to right instead of left. Let's see, I think the best way to differentiate this would be through color. So let's maybe have it match the background for now and then make it slightly bluer maybe? So it's not quite white. There we go. Let's go from white and just add in a little hue of blue. That way it's subtle, but there's still a distinction between the two based on purely color. Cool, from here, let's grab an image to use. So I'm gonna go to uifaces.com and let's see. Let's just grab an image to use here. So I called her Jane, so let's see. Maybe use hers. Scale it down, beautiful. And then I will just replace it. Beautiful. All right, then let's change the copy and say something like, hi, Mackenzie. This is looking great. Can I see it with a different color instead of that green? Maybe something like that. I don't really know. All right, then that looks good. Now let's shorten her chat bubble because it doesn't need to be as long. Whoops. Grab the layer, not the group. Beautiful. I'm loving this. All right, so what about the time? So I'm just gonna type something. Let's say maybe the date. So let's do, or the time itself. So like 10:28 a.m. or something. So this should be subtle, but yet clearly readable. So what I'm thinking is a bold font, but a small font size. So maybe let's go like 11%, but a heavy font weight. And then if she replied, say like 12:22 p.m. Beautiful. So I want to copy this one. Let's just make the spacing the same. And I'll just say something like, yes, absolutely. What do you think of a blue instead? And then this, I would want it to be centered vertically, but probably match the same height just for consistency's sake. Let's change the time to like 2:47 p.m. There we go. And then I would upload a new file. Let's push all of this stuff up. All right, so version 2 or something like that. Cool. So this looks good. The last thing we would need is simply a way to write something. So I'm thinking at the bottom here, we would have have a bubble just to right. And I'll just say, maybe say something. This font could be a bit bigger. Let's make it the Avenir book, but let's make it slightly larger, maybe like 17. And we'll do the italic or the oblique. And let's make it a lighter gray color so it's not so in your face. Let's make it very, very subtle. Beautiful. You know what? I'm kind of not really digging the shadow. I feel like that takes away emphasis from the shadows elsewhere. So on the avatars, I'm going to go ahead and remove those. That looks better. So you know what? I realize I'm not using the correct font. Avenir. See, this one's using Lato. Let's change that to Avenir. Avenir and Avenir. Beautiful. What are these buttons using? Avenir. Cool. This looks good. Now let's maybe put it over a bit, and then we want that sidebar. So I'm going to go back to that file and grab one of these menu bar. I like this one because it's slightly funky. And I'm going to use that as the menu bar button. I want this design to be very minimal. So when you're looking at a project, you only see the information about that project. So I wouldn't have anything about other projects. You would have to click the navigation, the menu button to see all that. All right, so let's, I'm thinking maybe the title of this project. So this would be the Pixel Perfect Design Resources. Let's make that quite a bit larger. Maybe about 30, 32. And then I'm going to make it that dark gray color. Cool. Let's add some information about the project itself. We wouldn't want to show everything here, but we can show quite a bit. So I'm thinking maybe like her name, let's say Jane Doe. It should not match the size, so I'm going to scale it down maybe to 20 and then change the color. So let's make a lighter gray. There we go. And then also I want some sort of description of what this is. So I'm going to say client's name. And then again, just like the time, I'm going to do the heavy font weight and the dark color, as well as the small font size. So maybe like 11. I believe that's what we did for. Yeah, we did 11 on at the time as well. Beautiful. Maybe this should be slightly larger. So let's copy that. What else would you need to see? Maybe an email. Let's do hey@example.com. Client's email. Just make sure it's evenly spaced. And then let's make the phone number 123-555-1234 or something like that. Then client's phone. What else would they need to see? So this would be their name, contact. What about the project itself? So maybe we would want to see like the budget. What if it's like 12,500? Let's change this one to project budget. Maybe the project due date. So maybe June 21st. 23rd. And then I'll change this to project due date. I feel like these should be visually separated. So I'm going to scoot that down. Just create a simple shape line to break it up a bit. I feel like it should be bigger than 2 pixels. And then I will just vertically center it, just eyeballing it. All right, let's remove the border, the fill. Let's see, what if it was that dark color? That's way too much. That gray color from the button looks pretty good. Actually, I don't think it needs to be that wide. Let me zoom in and let's shrink it up a bit. Just like a little dash to break it up. Beautiful, I'm loving this. This title seems off. I feel like it's the size, maybe a little bit smaller. Maybe bring in the line height slightly. There we go, I like that. This is looking amazing. I love this so much. One last thing is let's add a link in the sidebar. And I'll just say view full project brief. And then let's make the color, maybe that blue color. Ha ha ha. This looks awesome, guys. And then obviously you would be able to scroll back up and see the history of the communications between you and your client. All right, with that, I think we are done. All right, my friends, that is all for this episode. Be sure not to miss next Thursday. I'm going to be coding the front end of this application. But if you have any questions or comments about this design, leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. And until next time, have a beautiful rest of your week. See ya.